Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and today Apple released iOS 17.3.1 to the public. iOS 17.3.1 is available around the world at the same time for everyone as long as you're not a beta tester. If you are a beta tester or developer, you won't have this update as you're actually on a newer version of iOS 17.4. Along with this, Apple also released iPadOS 17.3.1, watchOS 10.3.1, and macOS 14.3.1. There could be some other updates rolling out a little bit later as well. Now, this update came in at 772.9 megabytes on my iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max, and was about the same size on all the devices as long as you were upgrading from iOS 17.3. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the build number and talk about what's new. So we'll go to Settings, then we'll go down to General, then About. As you can see, the build number is 21D61. This update is a bug fix and security update, and there is no modem update. So if you were having connectivity issues, while they could have updated the code some, there is no modem update if you're updating from iOS 17.3 to iOS 17.3.1. However, they have fixed an issue specifically to do with text. So if we go into Notes here, you'll see here's a new note. If I'm just typing a word, sometimes if you hit return or something else, text would overlay one another and just sort of duplicate altogether. They've fixed that in this update. They haven't mentioned whether or not they've fixed the issues with the keyboard, but it seems to be nice and fast. The keyboard is nice and fast, and it seems to keep up pretty quickly. I haven't had any issues with that so far, whether that's here or in Spotlight Search or anything else. So it seems like it's keeping up like you would expect. It may take a little bit of time to see if it slows down. However, there are still bugs that remain in this update. For example, they haven't mentioned anything to do with Wi-Fi. However, I haven't had any issues here. If you are having issues, you may want to try and reset your network settings. I haven't had some since 17.3, but if you go into your settings and under your settings, go to General, scroll down to Transfer or Reset iPhone, then go to Reset. You can try resetting your network settings if you're having that issue. However, keep in mind that this could erase your Wi-Fi passwords, and you'll need to have that information if you don't have it saved somewhere. So I would caution you if you do this, but you can just reset the network settings. It seems to fix it for most people. Now, the wallpaper fading bug is still there, where if you pull down from the notifications, you'll see here it's nice and vibrant. If I scroll down to home or go home, that happens on both my 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max, where it just sort of fades or desaturates the background. So it just is very slight, but it's something that's there. And with iOS 17.3.1, they have not fixed the notification bug. They did fix it in iOS 17.4. I know people are sick of me mentioning it, but it is a slight issue that has been fixed finally in 17.4 that's running on here with the beta. So beta 2 finally fixed that, and it looks like they've paid attention to that. That's been a bug since iOS 16 for everyone. As far as any other bugs, well, there's no mention, like I said, of anything else. Specifically, I wish they'd give more information about that. But as far as battery or anything else, it will take a few days to measure. We'll check that in just a moment. Now, with every update, Apple includes security updates. And if we go to the Apple Security website where it says Apple Security Releases, I'll link it in the description. But if we scroll down, you'll see iOS 17.3.1 and iPadOS 17.3.1. It tells you what it's available for, and you can see when it was released, which is today, and it says there are no published CVE entries. That doesn't mean they haven't patched something in the background. Sometimes they actually publish them a little bit later, as they want to give time for people to update and make sure that everything's patched before they expose what was actually implemented as far as their security patches and what was actually vulnerable. So that's something that's updated now, and I'll link this in the description, like I said, if you want to check it out. As far as other updates, well, iTunes is no more on Windows. iTunes has long been removed from Mac, but as of yesterday, Apple split it into Apple Music, Apple TV, and a Devices app on Windows, just like we have on Mac. Also, Apple shared a new YouTube mini film, which is featuring Usher for the Super Bowl coming up soon, and it's on the Apple Music YouTube channel. So if you want to check that out, I'll link it in the description, but that's for an upcoming performance for the halftime show. Now, as far as overall performance of this update, iOS 17.3.1 seems to be pretty fast. It's only been out a little while, and typically 0.1 updates are not for performance or anything else, but rather just bug fixes and security updates. So far, things like ProMotion, just scrolling, opening apps, whether that's Apple Music, things are nice and fast. And you'll see I got a new splash screen there where it says what's new with collaboration, but that was part of the previous update. Going between different tabs, things are loading fast, and it just seems to be performing like you would expect. So I don't expect any big differences here. As far as the overall heat, well, let's take a look at it. I've been using this during the video. It is a little bit warm since it's fully updating everything and still processing in the background. Both of these devices have been updated. Let's take a look. The 15 Pro is still a little bit warm, but we're at about 32 to 33 degrees Celsius. And the one that's been sitting for a while with the same update is at about 27 degrees Celsius. And in Fahrenheit for the 15 Pro, we're at about 94 degrees Fahrenheit. On the 15 Pro Max that's been sitting at about 82.5 degrees Fahrenheit. So in general, no real concerns. They just processed everything in the background. They're still going as far as the update goes. So give it a little time. I wouldn't be concerned as Apple monitors this and regulates it as well. As far as the overall battery life and battery health, well, on these devices, let's go into settings here. We'll go to general and then about. And as far as overall battery cycles on the 15 Pro Max, we have 28 cycles. On the 15 Pro, we have 14 cycles. Unfortunately, they have not brought this feature to anything other than the iPhone 15s at this time. Now, as far as battery, we'll take a look at that here with battery health and charging. We're at 100% as far as the battery health. The updates don't necessarily affect this. It just recalculates it to see what the battery capacity currently is. As far as battery life, well, I'll be monitoring that over the next few days. I've been on the beta, and the beta's been pretty good, but overall, the regular version was a little better for me. So again, on this device running the beta, the last 10 days, you'll see yesterday I only had 1 hour and 43 minutes of screen active time, 5 hours and 34 minutes of screen idle time, and used over 50% of my battery. Today, only 1 hour, and my battery's at 92%. So it's okay, but it's not great. I would expect it to be pretty good on 17.3.1, as iOS 17.3 was great from the start for most people. Some people had some issues with it, though. Now, if you're wondering if you should install iOS 17.3.1, well, if you had the text overlap issue, I definitely would. There's no reason not to from iOS 17.3 to 17.3.1. There's not really going to be any major updates here other than maybe some security updates and a couple bug fixes. As far as iOS 17.4 Beta 3's release, well, I would expect that as soon as probably next Tuesday or Wednesday, with a final release sometime in the late February timeframe, around the 26th or early March. That's typically what we expect, as Apple has to comply with the European Union with sideloading, third-party app stores, and more. Apple's also already working on iOS 17.5, so once iOS 17.4 is released to the public, we'll see iOS 17.5 Beta 1 probably sometime in March, and then we'll see a major update in June with all the new features at WWDC with iOS 18. That's what we expect for major updates. Now, as far as benchmarks, let's go ahead and run those and see what we get here. This phone is cooled down. Let me run it and see what we get on the 15 Pro Max. The benchmark's completed, and you'll see it scored 2,955 for single core, 7,422 for multi-core. That's pretty good, and if you just run this and you want to check it out yourself, you can, but keep in mind, let the device cool down, as this is the previous result where it was much lower. After letting it cool down, it's very good, and as good as it was with 17.3 or earlier updates. So definitely an improvement from when I ran it a little bit earlier, and it seems to be nice and fast in general. Now, if you found anything else with iOS 17.3.1, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below, and of course I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.